Have you ever wondered how the Amish keep their meat fresh without any modern technology like refrigeration? Well, you're about to learn some of the oldest and most fascinating methods they use. And trust me, they've been perfecting these techniques for centuries. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll be amazed by the simplicity and effectiveness of these natural methods. The Amish lifestyle is built around tradition, hard work, and living off the land. But when it comes to preserving food, they go back to the basics, using methods that most of us have forgotten about. Today, we're diving into the fascinating ways the Amish keep their meat fresh without the need for a fridge. First things first, why don't the Amish use refrigeration? Well, refrigeration, like many modern conveniences, isn't just a nah for the Amish. It's a choice based on their religious beliefs and commitment to living simply. You see, the Amish believe in being separate from the world and its temptations, and for them, that includes relying on technology less. Now, I'm not here to preach about religion, but I've spent enough time working with my hands to understand the appeal of doing things the old-fashioned way. The Amish have figured out that a simpler life, one closer to nature and their traditions, is a good life. And let's be honest, there's a certain beauty to that. They're not trying to impress anyone with the latest gadgets. They're more interested in preserving their way of life and passing down the knowledge and skills that have sustained them for generations. So, instead of plugging in a fridge, they find alternatives to keep food fresh and safe to eat. And you know what? Their methods are often eco-friendly, cost-effective, and sustainable. Exactly what you'd expect from a community that values tradition and self-sufficiency. They're not trying to make a statement, they're just living their lives according to their beliefs. And in a world that's constantly pushing for more, faster, newer, I think there's something to be said for that kind of quiet determination. One of the oldest and most reliable methods the Amish use to preserve meat is drying. When you think of dried meat, you probably think of jerky. And yes, jerky is a popular choice, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. The Amish take drying to a whole other level. Imagine this. Rows of meat, carefully sliced and seasoned, hanging in a well-ventilated space like an old barn or a dedicated smokehouse. The air, warm and dry, slowly draws the moisture out of the meat, turning it into a concentrated source of protein that can last for months without refrigeration. It's like nature's own dehydrator, and it's been used for centuries by cultures all over the world. The Amish, with their deep respect for tradition, have kept this ancient practice alive. They understand that the key to successful drying is all about controlling the environment. Too much humidity, and the meat can spoil. Not enough airflow, and it can get moldy. But get it just right, and you've got a delicious and nutritious way to preserve food for the long haul. And the best part? It doesn't require any fancy equipment. Just good old-fashioned know-how, and a little bit of patience. This method relies on the natural air circulation and sometimes, depending on the region, a bit of smoke from wood fires. The result? A preserved meat that can last for months without refrigeration. It's simple, effective, and a testament to the ingenuity of people who know how to work with what they've got. Now, speaking of smokehouses, smoking is another technique the Amish use. And let me tell you, it's an art form. We're not just talking about tossing some meat on a grill with a few wood chips. We're talking about a slow, deliberate process that transforms ordinary meat into something truly special. The Amish understand that smoking meat isn't just about adding flavor, it's about preservation. The smoke acts as a natural preservative, helping to kill bacteria and prevent spoilage. It's like a 1-2 punch of deliciousness and longevity. In Amish communities, you'll often see meat hanging in smokehouses for days or even weeks. The smokehouse becomes a place of transformation, where time and tradition work their magic. The air inside is thick with the aroma of hickory, applewood, or whatever local wood they're using, each imparting its own unique flavor profile. And don't forget, it's also a slow, almost meditative process that connects them with their ancestors' ways of doing things. It's about patience, about understanding the rhythm of nature, and about appreciating the simple things done right. The next time you bite into a perfectly smoked piece of meat, remember the Amish and their dedication to preserving not just food, but also a way of life. Now, let's talk about canning, another area where the Amish really shine. These folks are the undisputed champions of canning, and they don't just stop at fruits and vegetables. Oh no, they've mastered the art of canning meat too. Canning might seem intimidating, but the Amish make it look like a walk in the park. They've been doing it for generations, passing down the knowledge and skills from one generation to the next. It's all about understanding the process, paying attention to detail, and having a healthy respect for food safety. Here's how it works. They cook the meat, pack it tightly into sterilized jars, and then seal those jars up tight. This creates a vacuum inside the jar, which is the secret to long-term preservation. No oxygen, no bacteria, no problem. Once sealed, these jars can be stored for months or even years, making them a great option for long-term preservation. The Amish often can beef, chicken, and pork, turning them into ready-to-eat meals or ingredients that can be used all year round. Talk about being prepared. It's like having a pantry full of homemade convenience food, all without relying on electricity or modern preservation techniques. Just good, honest food, preserved with care, and ready to nourish their families whenever they need it. Now that's what I call real food security. Let's talk about salt curing, a method as old as time itself. The Amish, with their deep respect for tradition, haven't forgotten the power of salt. They know that salt isn't just for flavor, it's a force of nature when it comes to preserving food. Think about it. Before refrigeration, salt was the go-to method for keeping meat from spoiling. It's a natural antibacterial and antifungal agent that draws moisture out of meat, creating an environment where those pesky microorganisms can't thrive. The Amish take salt curing seriously. They pack meat in salt, sometimes adding other spices for flavor, and then they let it sit. And I mean really sit, sometimes for days or even weeks depending on the cut and the cure. During that time, the salt works its magic, drawing out moisture and transforming the meat's texture and flavor. It's a slow and steady process, but the results are worth it. Once the meat is salted, it can be stored in cool, dry places for months. This method not only preserves the meat but also gives it a distinctive savory flavor. In Amish homes, it's common to see large cuts of meat hanging in the cellar, preserved through this time-honored technique. It's a testament to the fact that sometimes the old ways are still the best ways, especially when it comes to preserving the bounty of the land. Now, if you really want to see Amish ingenuity at its finest, look no further than their root cellars. These aren't your average basements. These are carefully constructed underground chambers designed to keep food fresh for months without any electricity whatsoever. Imagine this, a cool, dark space dug into the earth where the temperature stays relatively constant year-round. That's the beauty of a root cellar. It takes advantage of the earth's natural insulation to create the perfect environment for storing all sorts of food, especially cured or dried meat. The Amish have this figured out. They know that a root cellar isn't just a storage space, it's an extension of their self-sufficiency. It's a way to keep food fresh without relying on outside sources of energy, a way to connect with the rhythms of nature, and a way to ensure that their families have access to good, wholesome food all year round. Unlike modern fridges, root cellars don't require electricity at all. Instead, they rely on the natural temperature of the earth to keep everything at the perfect level for preservation. It's a simple, sustainable, and incredibly effective way to preserve food. It's a reminder that sometimes, the best solutions are the ones that have been around for centuries, the ones that work in harmony with nature, and the ones that connect us to the ingenuity of those who came before us. One of the things that always strikes me about the Amish is their incredible sense of community. These folks don't just live near each other, they live with each other, supporting each other, and working together to maintain their way of life. And nowhere is this more evident than in their approach to preserving meat. When it comes to butchering and preserving meat, the Amish don't go it alone. They turn it into a community event, a time for families to come together, share their skills, and help each other out. It's a tradition that goes back generations, a time for hard work, laughter, and the satisfaction of knowing that they're working together to provide for their families. Imagine this, a crisp autumn day, the air filled with the smell of wood smoke and the sounds of laughter and conversation. Families gather at a farm, bringing their tools and their experience. They work side by side, butchering the animals with respect and care, sharing stories and techniques passed down through generations. It's a beautiful thing to witness, this sense of shared purpose and community spirit. By working together they can preserve large amounts of meat without worrying about spoilage. It's all part of the Amish tradition of supporting each other, sharing resources, and living off the land. It's a reminder that in a world that often feels increasingly individualistic, there's still a lot to be said for the power of community, the importance of tradition, and the satisfaction of working together towards a common goal. So, there you have it. The Amish ways of preserving meat without refrigeration. From drying and smoking to canning, salt curing, and using root cellars, they've got methods that have stood the test of time. These simple yet incredibly effective techniques are proof that you don't need modern technology to keep food fresh. In fact, many of these methods are more sustainable and environmentally